Hey guys, this is God of Politics. I'm going to make a brand new video, but before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But in today's video, I'm going to be doing the opposite of the video I did about a week ago now, and that was the best case scenario for the Democrats in the 2022 midterms. Now, I made a video talking about the best case scenario for Republicans, which you should go check out, and this is going to be the opposite. This is going to be the best case scenario for the Democrats for both the Senate elections, as you can see here, and the governor elections, as well as the House elections, which I can just click on this, change the number of representatives for each district, because of course the number of representatives is changing for many states. So to start off with the safe electoral or safe Senate seats for the Republican Party, we're always going to have the usual suspects: Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Alaska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Kentucky, Indiana, as well as Alabama and South Carolina. They are all going to be safe states for the Republican Party. And then the safe states for the Democratic Party are going to be California, Oregon, Washington, as well as Colorado, as well as Hawaii, as well as the state of Illinois, New York, Vermont, Connecticut, and Maryland. So that gets Democrats all the way up to 46 seats already, Republicans sitting at just 43. Now, looking at the likely margin states, I think that Missouri, I'm going to put it a likely margin just because of the possible scenario where, you have someone like Eric Greitens being the nominee and someone like Jay Nixon for the Democrats. But that's an unlikely scenario. But in a best case scenario for Democrats, they could get in under 10 points. It was about 15 points in 2016. It was about a 3-point race for the 2016. It was about a 20-point margin for the presidential race in 2016, a 3-point margin for the Senate race in 2020. It went to about 16 percentage points. So in a best case scenario, could be under 10 percentage points, but not even going to get close to flipping. And that's probably going to be all of the likely margin states for the Republicans. As for the, Florida's also going to be a likely margin. Florida's not even going to get close with Marco Rubio. He's, not going to have any trouble at winning whatsoever. For the Democrats, I actually don't think there are any likely margin states here, so I'm just going to leave that there. But going to the lean margin states for the Republicans, Ohio and Iowa would both be lean margins in a best case here for the Democrats, with Tim Ryan running for the Democrats. Maybe he makes it a little closer. Maybe he does a little bit better in white working class areas, but he's not going to be able to get it too close. Similar thing in Iowa in the sense that this is a state that has trended towards the Republican Party. And if Chuck Grassley does run, safe red, 100%. If he doesn't run, maybe it gets slightly closer. Maybe Democrats run a decent candidate like Rob Sand or somebody like that. But really, it's not going to be competitive, at least not very much. Now, the lean margin states for the Democrats, there are a lot of these. It does include Nevada, Arizona, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. I'm going to put all of these states as lean margin states because all but one of them have a Democratic incumbent, and the other one is an open seat in a state that Biden won by 1 percentage point. If Democrats get their act together in Pennsylvania, they can get a good nominee and have a bad Republican nominee. They can certainly win this state by over 2 percentage points, but it's going to be a best case scenario that'll take that to happen, which is, of course, what this video is about. As for these other states, it's pretty self-explanatory. Democratic incumbents, states that at least two of them you could argue are trending blue. The other ones have had long-time Democratic incumbents, and the Republican candidates generally aren't that good. New Hampshire, I'm counting on Sununu not running for this scenario, which is the best-case scenario for them. If he does run, I can't see much of a scenario where Maggie Hassan does win, but you never know. I think probably Sununu would win by around 4 to 5 percentage points, but as for the tilt margin states, Wisconsin and North Carolina, I think, would actually both go towards the Democrats. If Democrats ran someone like Sherry Beasley in North Carolina against someone like Pat McCrory, and in Wisconsin they ran someone like Sarah Godlewski against maybe like Reince Priebus or somebody for the Republicans, if you have a scenario like that, Democrats could certainly win both of these races. While that is unlikely, it's certainly a possibility. And so, a best case scenario for Democrats, I do think that they could win 53 Senate seats. Now, if you did have this scenario, things like the filibuster would probably be gone. D.C. and Puerto Rico might even be states. But that would count on the House, of course. But looking at this, it would be a very good result for Democrats. Unlikely? Yes. Possible? Yes. But again, it's unlikely. Now, as for the governor elections, of course, we can go through the safe states again. You have a lot of the similar suspects: Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Alaska, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, as well as I'm going to put Massachusetts safe because I don't think Charlie Baker will not run. I do think that he will run. I'm also going to put Vermont as safe because I think Phil Scott is going to run. So those are probably all of the safe states for the Republicans. As for the Democrats, Oregon, California, Colorado, New Mexico, Hawaii, as well as Illinois, Minnesota, as well as Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Maine. Those are going to be all of the safe states for the Democrats. And by safe, I do mean going by over 10 percentage points. Now, for the likely margin states, South Dakota I do think could be likely state. And of course, I bet many of you are saying, oh, South Dakota, very safe state. How could it be likely? Well, in 2018, Democrats ran Billy Sutton for this race, and they actually only lost by 3 percentage points to Kristi Noem. So if they do run that candidate again, and there is some rumors that he is going to run again, they could certainly make this race under 10 percentage points. It would be difficult to win, very, very difficult, but it is certainly possible. South Carolina, I'm also going to put a likely margin. You've got Henry McMaster, the governor, who's running against probably going to be Joe Cunningham for the Democratic Party. He was the congressman from South Carolina's 1st congressional district, which is a swing district, not represented for a Democrat in decades, but he was able to win it, ran very far ahead of Biden in 2020, almost won this seat, but lost to Nancy Mason. So he is running for governor, and in theory, he could make it close, but it's like Jamie Harrison. Did he end up getting close? No, not really. He spent $100 million and lost by 10 percentage points, which was just complete embarrassment. But regardless, in this scenario, I do believe that it could be a likely margin for that race. Texas, same thing. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Probably trending blue overall. And in 2018, it was 13 percentage point margin despite not paying virtually any attention to this race. So I do think that in 2022, if Democrats run a decent candidate, it's not going to be Beto O'Rourke, but it could be someone else. They could make this under 10 percentage points. Iowa and Ohio both also. Actually, I think probably just Ohio. I don't think Mike DeWine's really going to have much trouble winning at all. And so I do believe in this scenario it could be a likely margin. Now, the likely margin states for the Democrats, let's see if there are any. Michigan, I could say in a best case scenario could be a likely margin with Gretchen Whitmer. Same thing with Nevada. Now, the lean margin states, I'm probably going to put Iowa at tilt. I'll just put it at tilt for now because there's no lean Democratic states. But I will put Iowa at tilt because Kim Reynolds actually isn't that popular, but I just can't see a scenario where a Democrat does win this race. Now, as for the lean margin states for the Democrats, we will have Wisconsin being a lean margin, Pennsylvania, as well as Kansas if Laura Kelly can get her popularity up and actually run against maybe a worse candidate for the Republicans. Not worse than 2018, you're not going to get much worse than that, but if they can get a worse candidate. So the tilt margin states now, Democrats I think could win Georgia tilt, they could win Arizona tilt, they could win New Hampshire. I'm actually going to put New Hampshire lean just because assuming Kristen Noem doesn't run, because again, maybe in this scenario he runs for Senate, and in the Senate scenario he runs for governor. So best case scenario, I think Democrats could win this race by a lean margin. Now Florida, I'm going to put it tilt Republican. This does not mean that Ron DeSantis is going to lose, because he's not going to lose. But in a best case scenario, Florida's still a close state and has had close elections even in red wave years, like in 2014 when Rick Scott won by 1 percentage point in an R plus 6 years. So Ron DeSantis is certainly not impenetrable. I mean, he's very, very likely to win, but it's not 100% guaranteed. But in the best case scenario, he could lose, but it would be very narrowly. But again, he's probably not going to lose. So now looking at these House results, this is just going to be more of a rough estimate just because we have gerrymandering, other things like that to take into account. But in a best case scenario, Democrats, could probably gain a seat in Arizona, or not gain a seat, but keep that seat here. Maybe they do decent. Maybe they flip one of the Florida seats back because it's hard to shore them up. Maybe in the state of Michigan, they're able to have a 7-6 majority. Maybe in one, it's probably going to be difficult to win a lot of these seats. Maybe looking at New York, Republicans actually have 3 seats, 23-3, which would be just ridiculous, but that is possibly what could happen. Maybe in Maine, it's of course would be Jared Golden winning in this scenario, so that would be 1 Democrat here and 1 Democrat here. In Oregon, you could have a 5-1 in a very good scenario for Democrats, but it is unlikely. Utah, probably not going to happen. Washington, probably going to stay at 7-3. Maybe Democrats gain maybe 2 seats in California. Maybe they also actually gain a seat in Louisiana, which is looking less likely than I thought, but it is still possible. Looking at some of these other scenarios, they're probably gonna end up losing one of these seats here in the South. And so it's going to be difficult. Maybe they get another run here in Illinois. So if we bring this up to 14-3 here, maybe in Pennsylvania they're able to make it 10-7, which would be quite difficult, but it is possible. Virginia, maybe they do get a 7-4 victory. Looking at the rest of this, so that's probably the best case scenario for Democrats, to be honest. Maybe if Don Bacon retires, but I don't think he will retire. So in a best case scenario for Democrats, they can probably have a scenario like this where they gain a couple of seats, but really redistricting is going to make that very difficult. The national environment, even if it does favor Democrats, is going to be difficult to gain seats. So in a best case scenario, Democrats probably only gain about half a dozen seats, which would be good for an incumbent party, but again, it's not that large of a majority. But overall, Democrats in a best case scenario would gain 3 seats in the Senate, I believe. They would gain 1, 2, 3, 4 governorships, and they would gain maybe half a dozen House seats. So thank you for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.